guys, and welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video because we have another little weekly reading challenge. The last reading challenge that I did was swapping my screen time for reading time, and we're going to do something slightly similar but not the same. However many times I picked up my phone each day last week is going to control the number of pages I read this week. I'm going to be doing this Monday through Friday again. So it's currently Monday today, and I'm going to be using the amount of times that I picked up my phone last Monday as the amount of pages that I'm reading today. So the number of times that I picked up my phone last Monday was 92. So I have to read at least 92 pages today. I'm not going to restrict myself to just 92 pages. If I want to go over that, then that's great, I'll go over that. But that is the minimum number of pages that we have to read today. My current read is The Blighted Stars. This is kind of a bit out of my comfort zone just because it's a sci-fi, and I do enjoy sci-fis, but this one specifically is like a space themed sci-fi, which I would say is out of my comfort zone. I am a little over halfway through it already, so I'm on page 265 is what I'm starting at. So I have to get to at least 357 today because that's at least 92 pages, and if we read more than that, then that would also be great. The plot of this, we're basically stranded on this kind of dead planet. That's the situation that we're in, and it's a world where you basically get reprinted if you die, and you could get reprinted in somebody else's body. So basically we have our main girl Naira, and she's kind of working for this rebellion kind of group, and we also have Tarquin, who's kind of like this prince character. He's the heir to this big dynasty, and they're essentially enemies because Naira believes that his family is responsible for killing off all these planets, and she actually gets reprinted into Tarquin's kind of bodyguard, but he doesn't know that she's obviously in there, which is kind of a really interesting dynamic. It's also really hard to explain. I feel like I'm really not used to explaining the plot of sci-fi books, which I think has just become very evident. But I feel like I've kind of got the gist of it across. Yeah, very different to anything that I've ever read before. I'm intrigued to see kind of where it's going to go, and something kind of big has just been revealed, so I'm intrigued to see what the rest of this like 200 or so pages holds. I have been listening to some of it on audiobook as well, and I have really enjoyed listening to it on audiobook actually. I feel like this is something that would work really well as a film. Having the audiobook is kind of like the closest that I'm going to get to that at the minute, unless this has been made into a film and I had no idea about it. But I've been mixing it up between reading it physically and listening to the audiobook, which is what we'll be doing today as well. And hopefully we will hit our 92 page goal. It's currently 8 p.m. and I have read 0 pages today. 0 pages. I said that this was very doable, but let's hope that that was true. I have this little miniature book house thing that I'm currently building, and I'm gonna listen to The Blighted Stars on audio while I make some furniture and some mini books and stuff. I'm starting on chapter 39, so we'll see how much I can read whilst building my little book nook. It's Tuesday, and as you saw yesterday I did manage to hit our 92 page goal. I actually went a little bit over that, and we're starting today on page 367, and the amount of times that I picked up my phone last Tuesday, let's have a look, 108 times. So that, I don't know what I was doing on that day. That's quite a lot of times to pick up a phone in one day, I feel like. but that means that we're hoping to read 108 pages at least today, and that would take us to page 475, which is nearly the end. I think there's only like 480 something, so I think hopefully we will be finishing this book today, but at least hitting the 108 page goal. And thoughts so far, definitely very different to what I'm used to reading, and I quite like that it's so different because it's just something completely new to me, which I like. I think I said this before, but I do think this would make such a great film. Just with what's happening in my head when I'm reading it, I just think it would make a great film. The thing that's kind of falling flat for me for this one is the romance, which I know, shocker. I literally can't believe I'm saying, because I thought that would be something that I would really love in this book, and it's actually my least favourite part. Just because Tarquin is a bit of a wet wipe. He's a bit of a wet wipe, and it's quite, his character is quite frustrating because his family is very powerful, and his family have basically been accused of being responsible for killing these planets, and he's just very like, oh, my dad would never do that, like he'd never do that. And then when he starts to come around to the idea that maybe he could actually do that, he's like, oh, I'll just reason with him, I'll just talk to him and it'll be fine. And I'm just a bit like, oh, okay. And I know that Naira, our main girl, is also like, well, either you're with us or you're not. And then he's like, oh, I can just reason with him. And she's like, okay, so you're not with us. You're not with us then. Like, he's just a very frustrating character, and I find that some of the banter, like the flirting, kind of makes me cringe, honestly. Because there's things like her nickname for him. He's really into rocks and geology, and she keeps calling him Rock Boy. And I'm just a bit like, okay. So it's just things like that where the flirting is kind of falling a little bit flat and kind of making me cringe a little bit. But other than that, I do quite like the setup of this world, and I will say that some bits are kind of confusing for me to understand, and I feel like I have to go back and reread until I like properly understand it. But I feel like that's kind of to be expected in a sci-fi for me personally anyway, just because I'm not used to reading them, and especially things like set out in space and stuff. But yeah, I am very intrigued to see how it's going to end, and we're definitely getting into like the big finale. I can feel that. So I'm very intrigued, and I also know that this is the first book in a series. It's called the Devoured World series, so I would be interested to see how it's going to kind of end, because what do you mean it's part of a series? What do you mean this is only book one? You know? That's my little update. Hoping to finish it today, hoping to build some more of my little books as well for my book nook, so we will be listening to some of this on audiobook and reading some. Will just, you know, interchange between the two, and yeah, hopefully we will reach our page goal for the day. Hello guys, I have a little reading update. It's currently Wednesday, and it's also currently 10 to 7 p.m, and I'm yet to update this reading vlog. Have a little bit of a reading update. We have The Blighted Stars, which I finished last night, and this one was definitely a really interesting read. Definitely nice to read something so kind of outside my comfort zone and so different to what I usually read. And it's weird because I have thought about this whole world since, because it almost feels like a movie that I watched that I'm still thinking about, and I still feel like I'm in that world, you know? So I have definitely thought about this since. I know that I said earlier about the romance, but I do think that that kind of let this book down a little bit. Just the romance side, I kind of wanted more from it, and I didn't love Tarquin as a character. I thought he was a bit of a wet wipe. And also I found that I was a lot more interested in like the fact that you could be reprinted in somebody's body, or like there were misprints which were printed people. They're kind of like humans slash robots, and there's such thing as misprints, which are basically like scary versions of printed humans. I really liked that side of it. The element side, there was a lot of talk about these elements that were kind of made up. I don't even know whether they're necessarily elements. I don't really know what the correct word for it would be. But there was a lot of talk about the element side, and I wasn't as interested in that as I was the kind of robot humans and the misprints and the whole concept that you could be printed in somebody else's body and they wouldn't know. Found that whole thing really, really interesting. And for rating, I think this is probably like a 3.5 star, and I did really enjoy listening to it on audiobook as well. But yeah, we finished this one last night. We completed the reading challenge last night, and then since then I have picked up I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki, and this one I was reading last night and I also read a little bit today. But I'm actually going to DNF this book, which I'm so sad to say because this is part memoir, part self-help. So it's basically these transcripts between her and her psychiatrist and a lot of the things that she's dealing with. And I thought that it would be so up my street. And this is a book that when I first started getting into reading properly was on my list of books that I really wanted. And I actually bought this yesterday at the works, and I was so excited to read it because I've heard such amazing things about it, and I was enjoying it at the start, but there's just some things that the psychiatrist is saying to her that I think are just not it. In all honesty, and I just don't agree with some of the things that they're saying, and they're things that I don't really want in my head. So for example, the thing that actually made me DNF this book is the fact that she was talking about her anxiety and the anxiety she feels around like keeping friends in her life, and the psychiatrist says to her, your anxiety can become a burden to others. Sorry? Sorry? And as somebody that experiences anxiety and has done it for many, many years, I just feel like that's not what I need to be reading. It's not what I want in my head, and I don't think it's a good thing for the psychiatrist to be saying. There have been a few other little things like that I just kind of didn't really agree with, but that was the kind of final thing that I thought, yeah, maybe not, maybe I should put this book down. So I have decided to DNF this. I did get to page 64, which was the end of that chapter. So I have actually read some pages today, but I don't really know whether to count it or not, or whether to just start fresh with a new book. But the amount of pages that I've read already today is 27, and our goal for this challenge for Wednesday was actually 63 pages, so I feel like that's very doable. I actually think that's the lowest of the week, so technically it means that we have to read 36 pages at least of another book that I'm going to pick up, and I might try to read 63 pages of the new book because why not challenge ourselves, you know. For my next read, I think I need something light and fun, and I think I might go for The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. Let me get it. Here it is. This is the first one in, I don't know whether it's the Friend Zone series or the Happy Ever After playlist series, and I don't know whether this one is actually slightly more summery. I don't know, so it would kind of be good to read now before it really gets into the autumn vibes. But I'm really intrigued by this one. I think this is her first series that she ever wrote, and I've read the Popular World series, absolutely love that. It's one of my favourite romance series. So I'm so intrigued to see what this one's like. I actually found this in TK Maxx for $3.99, and I'm excited to get into another Abby Jimenez book. It's been a couple hours since I last updated you, and I just sat down to read. And I started reading this, and I'm actually not in the mood for this kind of book. Earlier on I was so in the mood for like a light puppy romance, and I'm just not anymore, and I don't know what's quite happened there. But I think what I need is maybe like a really fast-paced thriller, like an easy read. The Favourites is coming out tomorrow in paperback, which I'm literally so excited for, so I'd like something really quick and easy to read before that comes out and just up until that comes out. So I think I'm actually going to go for a Freedom McFadden. I think I'm going to go for The Perfect Son because I know The Surrogate Mother has just come out. This one is slightly shorter, and it's one that's been on my TBR for longer because obviously I had The Surrogate Mother here. The Surrogate Mother has only just reached my TBR, and I will be reading this soon probably, but I've heard really, really good things about this one, how it's one of her like more underrated ones. So I'm going to give this one a go instead, and I'm hoping that it's just going to be a really fast-paced, easy read. On to day 4 of this reading challenge already. It's currently Thursday, and last night we did hit the goal of 63 pages of The Perfect Son. I actually went a little bit over that just because this one is very, you're just immediately in there, and I'm really enjoying this so far, and I can kind of see how it's a more underrated one. I am only 110 pages in so far, so I feel like Freedom McFadden's rely heavily on like the twist and the shock of the plot twist for my experience reading them, and especially because I read a lot of her books, if a twist can really, really shock me now, then you know it's a good one. So I can only speak for the first 100 or so pages, but I am really enjoying this. I like the whole setup of it. We basically have this 16-year-old boy called Liam, and we have the perspective of his mum, who basically knows that there is something kind of off with him and something slightly dark going on with him, and that he was quite a dark child that had a couple of incidents. And we currently have the disappearance of this girl who Liam was kind of associated with, and the mum is really hoping that it's not him, but also will do anything to protect him at the same time. That's the kind of setup of it. It's very, very quick to read, really short chapters, which I feel like is exactly what I needed right now. And I feel like I'm probably going to be done either today or tomorrow with this book. I'm just really hoping that there's going to be some like big shocking plot twist that I don't see coming. So today is currently Thursday, and the amount of times that I picked up my phone last Thursday was 109. So we want to read 109 pages today, which will take us to 219 pages altogether in this. Maybe we'll read a little bit more than that today. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I'm hoping to at least read 109 pages. That's my hope for today. I actually don't have too much to do today. I am going to go and pick up the favourites, which I'm so excited about. I'm literally so excited about. And I have a bit of filming and a bit of editing to do, but other than that, it's a pretty chilled one today. I've been so full on for the past few weeks that I feel like I just need a chilled day, you know? Why has the sun just gone in? It's suddenly got so much darker. But yeah, that's all for my little update for now. I'm 180 or so pages into The Perfect Sun, so it means that I only have just under 30 pages left until I've completed the challenge for the day, and I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying it. It's just so easy and quick to read. It's one of those where you actually stop looking at what page you're on. I don't know if anybody else does that, but I'm constantly checking to see how much I've read and like what page I'm on compared to what page I was on like 5 minutes ago. I'm just constantly checking it. So when I find a book what I don't do that with, I really notice it, and it usually means that I'm just so caught up in the story that I'm just not checking it. And this is definitely one where I'm not doing that with. And I also really like the transcript chapters as well. I think that's so interesting. It kind of reminds me of Never Lie, when they had like the tape recording transcripts every like 3 or so chapters. I just think it's really nice to kind of mix it up, and I always love books with something a little bit different about them as well, so I'm really enjoying that. I'm also finding it in an interesting way because it's transcripts of a police interview with other characters, like side characters, but are also important to the story, and I can feel that Frida is like setting up a lot of different things, and I'm hoping there's going to be some crazy twist, honestly. And as for the challenge, I was a little bit worried just because I hadn't sat down to read until quite late on in the day. Now that I've only got 30 or so pages left of the 109 that was our goal today, I do think that it is very doable tonight, and especially like I said with how quick this book is reading. So I'm on page 180 and I'm hoping to get to at least page 219, I believe was our goal for the day. Finished reading The Perfect Sun by Freida McFadden. I really enjoyed this. Very quick, very easy to read. I just found the story and the plot of this one just really gripped me. I will say that the plot twist, I did guess. I did. But I'm not mad about it, actually. I'm not mad about it. I quite enjoy it, and I thought how it was all wrapped up and everything was interesting as well. I'm gonna rate it 3.5 stars. I feel like that's kind of where it sits. It's kind of similar vibe to like Do Not Disturb in my head, just in terms of how much I enjoyed it. But for the amount of pages to read today, our goal is 164 pages, which is how many times I picked up my phone last Friday, and I only had 56 pages of this book left. So we now have 108 pages left to read today, and I'm so beyond excited to start our next read, which is going to be The Favourites by Lane Fargo. I've been waiting so long for this to come out because I know that it came out in hardback earlier on this year, but then I realised that the paperback came out in the same year, which is quite rare that that happens. So I thought that I'd just wait it out and wait for the paperback, and it's finally here. I picked this up yesterday, so beyond excited to read this. I've heard so many good things about it, and I just feel like from what I've heard is going to be something that I love. Hopefully. I have high hopes for this one, I will say, and hopefully we can get a good way through this because we're going to read 108 pages, hopefully. That's the goal. Guys, it's currently a Saturday and I thought I'd do a little update on Friday and how much I managed to read. But I failed. I failed the challenge yesterday and I'm kind of gutted because it was the last day of the week that we were doing. But it's okay. It's okay. I was just playing board games with my family and ended up going to bed way too late. I did manage to start the favourites and I have got 50 pages in, but we didn't reach the, I think it was 164 pages that we were meant to read yesterday. I had 58 of those pages left because we were hoping to get to page 108 in here. So I managed to get to page 50, but I failed the challenge by 58 pages, which I'm kind of gutted about, but it's okay. It's okay. I have a really good feeling about this just from literally from the first chapter. I was immediately in this story. I have a good feeling about it. Potentially a 5-star read. Just gonna put it out there. I'm about to start filming another reading vlog where this book is going to be a part of that reading vlog. A little sneak peek for you there. So you will find out all my thoughts and everything throughout this whole book in that reading vlog, which won't be too far away. But I'm so excited about the reading vlog that I'm about to film. So excited to carry on with this book. At the minute, first initial impression, it's kind of giving me vibes of like Daisy Jones and the Six mixed with Magnolia Parks. That's the kind of vibe that it's giving. Really loving the short chapters, loving the fact that it changes between her telling the story but also the transcripts of the interviews as well. That part really gives me the vibe of Daisy Jones and the Six, and just the way that other people are like talking about them gives me that vibe. Yeah, I'm just very excited to like properly get into this book because like I said, I am only 50 pages in so far, but so far so good. I'm loving it. And you will see all my thoughts and everything in the other reading vlog. But as for this reading vlog, that actually brings us to the end of this week. I really hope you enjoyed watching how many times I picked up my phone, controls how many pages I read every day. If you've made it this far, leave a little star emoji in the comments so that I know. I really appreciate every single one of you, and I will hopefully see you in my next video.